join me in welcoming writer-director Gregg Araki. Thank you so much for sharing that amazing movie with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, of course. So I guess I'd just start at the beginning and ask how you came to tell this story on screen.
The book was actually brought to me by my French producers.
Okay.
This is my fourth film with these producers, and after the last one I did called Kaboom, which was 2010, I think, we were looking for something to do together, and this is actually a book that they had optioned earlier, and so they gave me the book and asked me to read it, and I read the book and kind of fell in love with it.
So you adapted it yourself. What were some of the challenges of adapting someone else's material to the screen, or was that not a challenge?
It's my second book adaptation. I did film about 10 years ago called Mysterious Skin, which was 2004. And so I knew that I could adapt a book. I actually find adapting a book kind of in a way easier than writing your own script, because everything's kind of mapped out for you, the characters and the sort of journey of it. So it's really, I actually think it's a lot more like editing, sort of taking a lot of material and sort of distilling it down to its essence.
Why did you fall in love with this book?
I just found it just very, Laura Kosiski, the writer, is a poet as well as a novelist, and I found it just very kind of beautiful, and very kind of lyrically written, and very kind of dreamy and just kind of gorgeous. And I found the story of it to be it really haunted me. And and it kind of reminded me a little bit of films like American Beauty and Ice Storm, those kind of dramas about suburbia and sort of what kind of lies beneath the surface of the American dream that Hollywood doesn't want to make anymore. And so I was really intrigued by that aspect of it.
The film has such an sort of gorgeous and deliberate visual style, especially in the flashbacks and all of the stuff having to do with Eve. And so I'm wondering how you sort of laid that out and what your approach was towards the visual style of the film.
The book is, as I said, kind of very poetic, and Laura has a way of using language that's very sort of elegant and very beautiful, and I sort of wanted to translate sort of the poetry of the book into kind of poetry of images. So before we started, this is my second film with Sandra Belday, the cinematographer, and so we have kind of shorthand, and I was telling her I wanted to be sort of like Douglas Sirk meets Wong Kar-wai, kind of this is what we were sort of going for.
That's a great, that's awesome, I love that.
I wanted it to be this very rich kind of painterly palette and these very sort of controlled kind of classical compositions. So we were very careful, and we always go through kind of visual references, books and photographs, and just kind of the mood and the way things look. And I always sort of, a lot of times I'll instruct my DPs that I want it to be sort of super gorgeous, sort of like every frame is like a painting.
Yeah. I really felt that way in the pool scene. I was almost distracted by how gorgeous some of the compositions were, that I was like, but it was sort of this sort of innocuous conversation about the missing cat, but it's so loaded, and I was like, oh my god, that hedge is amazingly beautiful and vibrant.
Well, that was the thing too, is that this is the second film I shot digitally. The first Kaboom was on the Red camera, and this was on the Alexa, and I personally just not to diss Clinton and Christopher Nolan, but I personally love digital. I think it's so creatively, it's so rich, and there's so much you can do with it. I mean, the amount of colors you can get in the digital realm are like way beyond what you can get in film. And for me, I mean, ultimately, if you Chris Nolan or something, they shoot 35 but then do a DI, so they kind of have all the advantages of digital, and with us as well as all the advantages of film. But unless you have, I think it used to be about $100 grand to do a DI, but unless you have the money to do a DI, and we didn't, digital is, I think, we spent a lot of time in the color timing of the DCP, and really you can get like such incredible kind of like vivid kind of and you can relight. I mean, we relit whole scenes.
Right.
With all these power windows on.
So in terms of casting, were the people that ended up in the film some people that you had thought about while you were reading the book, or how did you come to get Shailene and Eva Green involved?
Just pure luck.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate with this movie. The gods were kind of smiling on us, I think. I actually met Shailene through her manager, who managed an actor in Mysterious Skin.
Oh.
And so I've known him for years, and he, right after Descendants, he said, "Well, I have this client, I think that I love her, and she's gonna sort of break out in the Descendants, and she's really super special, and she's a huge fan of Mysterious Skin, and really wants to meet you." And so we just had sort of that general meeting, and then I was just, really impressed with Shailene. And then coincidentally, I was sort of, given this book, and about a year later, when Shailene won the Spirit Award for Descendants, I ran into the same manager backstage, and he's all, what?
He's like, I was right.
Yeah, he said, yeah, I was right. But he also was like, do you have anything for Shailene? Because she's passing on everything after Descendants, and she's getting all these offers, but really wants to do something special, and she loves you. And I hadn't even finished the script yet. And I just told him I'm working on this book, and he said, oh my God, send it. So luckily, that all worked out. Shailene loved the script, and so she signed on super early. And we did this movie actually after she did Spectacular Now, but before she did Divergent and Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah, I was curious as to when this was shot because she's in everything now, these huge blockbuster movies.
She's the it girl right now.
She is. And Eva Green is so amazing. How did you work with her on her performance? Because I felt it was a little bit Mommy Dearest, a little bit Piper Laurie and Carrie, who's like my favorite performance ever. And
Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor. Yes, that was the other one. The
Wolf.
hair and the eyes. I mean, so what was your process working like with her?
I mean, I adore Eva Green. I mean, I worship her. I've been a fan of her since The Dreamers. I've been wanting to work with her for years, and when I found out she was interested in this, I was like, oh my God, yes. She was actually only 32 when we made this movie, which was, I think, 11 years older than Shay. The story I love to tell is that Shiloh Fernandez, who plays Phil, was 27, I think.
Oh, wow.
And Ava was 32, and so they could date in real life.
Right.
They'd be like the hottest couple.
Probably be more appropriate for them to date than.
Yeah, they'd be like the hottest couple ever.
Yeah.
But it's really a testament to how great they both are in terms of the acting ability and just how talented they are, because that scene where she's sort of seducing him by the pool that you mentioned earlier is like one of the creepiest scenes I've ever seen.
Right.
And they really make you believe that he's 17 and she's like in 40s. And Ava was so incredible to work with. I mean, I just loved her to death. And we had a lot of talks about the Eve character, because I really wanted that character to not be like the one-dimensional evil mom. I wanted her to be, I really saw her as this kind of tragic figure, sort of a, we did the math on her character, and her character was born in 1946, which would make her early 40s in 1988. And so this character grew up, sort of in the 50s, early 60s, watching, and we talked about who her role models were as a young girl and as a teenager. We talked about Jackie O, Elizabeth Taylor, Joan Crawford, and the Hitchcock women, and all these women who were just this incredible ideal of beauty and poise, and they were always perfect, and they just that sort of, she's part of sort of that generation that is a little bit, in the 80s it's true that feminism had sort of already made its impact, but I think it was a little too late for her. So, and Shay's character even says in the movie where she's sort of, my mother kind of had no choice, she was just sort of given this, sort of prescribed this life that she never really wanted. And that's why I find the scene where she has a breakdown so kind of poignant, because it's really her realizing, like, I don't want this life, I don't want this, and how did I get here, And so her character was, I thought, really rich, and Ava really kind of tapped into that. But, Ava and I had talks about, the thing is, in the movie, the character of Eve sort of ages from, early 30s to early 40s, and we had the choice of going with an older actress or a younger actress, and I was actually told it's easier to age an actress than it is to de-age an older actress. And so, but we were really worried about kind of fake old age makeup, like in Brokeback Mountain and stuff, where it looks like so fake. And so, and Ava was the same way. So we did just the subtlest makeup on her, just like a little darkening, a little bringing out sort of, whatever few wrinkles Ava Green has. And the rest is just her. She literally would just show up on set as this different person. Like I didn't even recognize her when the way she moved and her body language and her voice and just everything. She was just another person, and it was really kind of creepy and weird, but kind of just awe-inspiring and how she did it. And as I said, I'm just the hugest fan of hers.
Yeah. One thing that I think is really interesting about this film is that sort of in the post-Gone Girl universe that we live in, is how it was so easy for them to sort of be like, oh, well, she was unhappy and having an affair, and we're not gonna like really investigate what happened to her. But, in actuality, she was a victim of domestic murder, violence, whatever. But, so I think that's a really interesting sort of like way that was positioned, that you positioned it. I don't know if you were thinking about that at all, but also just, when I saw, Cheryl Lee, aka Laura Palmer, show up as May, the new girlfriend, this sort of iconic victim. I'm wondering if that was a little bit of intertextuality that you had sort of inserted, or how that came to be. I just had to ask you about that.
Yeah, I was thrilled to work with Cheryl Lee. I've been the biggest fan of hers also. Everybody in this cast was just.
The cast is Angela Bassett.
Yeah, Angela, literally the therapist worked a day, and I was just like, would Angela Bassett do it? It's just like, okay, I'll do it. I'm like, what? I can't believe it. It was crazy. Everybody, Tom Jane, and Gabby. It was just such an amazing cast. I was so just kind of thrilled to come to set every day to work with these people. But Cheryl Lee was amazing. She actually had been in Winter's Bone, which one of the producers had worked on, and she was looking for the character May. Her name came up. Oh my God, yes. But her performance in Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me is my favorite David Lynch movie of all time, and so I was so thrilled to work with her.
All right, I'm hogging all the good questions. So, did you guys think of some good ones? Right here.
I'm Gil. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for coming.
I really enjoyed the film, and I liked how it kind of teases how the mother was hid in the icebox through the whole lizard motif. To me, it kind of hinted at sort of like this extrasensory perception she had, or this kind of psychic sense she had that her mom was being, hidden in a freezer. Could you speak to that? Do you have any opinion when it comes to psychic abilities or extrasensory things?
Everybody hear that question is about extrasensory things. All that is in the book. It was very. It's one of the things that appealed to me, I think, about the book is my movies always have a sort of level of dreams and surrealism and sort of Lynchian stuff kind of going on. So all of that aspect of the book, I think, it really attracted me to it. The thing about the book adaptation is I get sent a lot of books and scripts and stuff, and it really has to be a very specific kind of material. And for so far, there's only been 2 books that I've responded to enough to want to make into movies, and it was this book, Mysterious Skin. And both of those books really sort of are kind of in harmony with my own voice, and they really make sense to me, and I really feel like they sort of belong, or that I'm the person to make the film. And so that was one of the aspects of it, I think, the sort of mysterious, kind of supernatural, just all really sort of, I think when you're sort of talking about the sort of dreamy strangeness of the world.
Kind of like a purpose, like there's almost a grander purpose to it all, that something is trying to give her these signals to help her find her mom.
I'm actually not supposed to talk about this, but it's very loosely based on a true story, and that actually happened. The girl had these sort of communications with her dead mother. Very, very loosely based. But legally, we're not supposed to say that. You should leave this room.
All right, everyone, don't say anything. Yes, sir.
So when you were adapting the book, did you decide to take any liberties or change scenes or add scenes that weren't in the book to kind of make it your own, or did you basically stick with the scenes in the book?
It's a very faithful adaptation. Actually, Laura was at our Sundance premiere. She was really, she loved the movie and was so moved by it. There were a few things that I changed, and I told the producers that this is stuff I wanted to do to the book before we even started. The major thing is the ending is completely mine. In I really felt like the end of the book, was literally she opens the freezer and her mom's inside, and it was like that's kind of what the whole movie is pointing to, or the whole story is pointing towards that. And I felt like it really needs a third act. It needs something to happen. And so I felt like, and I have a thing about the ending movies and how important they are. So I changed the ending. I changed Beth and Nikki in the book are two girls, and I made Nikki a boy, a funny gay boy, and I also moved the period slightly later, and I moved the whole locale from the book takes place in Ohio, and I moved it to California just so it was close to my own kind of experience.
Right here.
Hi, thank you. This was so moving. I was like incredible.
Oh, thank you very much.
And just the truth teller is just so obvious. I was like in the bathroom thinking there should be a whole genre of movie called The Truth Teller Times. I'm curious to know if the truth was the other ending, was the homosexuality and the shock of his shame, if that was something you added or if that was in the book of poems as well.
That's the new ending. The book, as I said, in the book it's really what the cop says, like he killed her because she was fucking the boyfriend. And so I wanted it to be something, what I really wanted is I wanted her to open the freezer and there to be no body in there. Like, because you're expecting the body, and it's like she opens it and there's no body, it's just a bunch of frozen food.
Sarah Lee.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Sarah Lee boxes. And so I wanted that, and then I had to then figure out something else, like how she died, what happened to her. And that's when the whole thing with the father and Phil came about. And it was really interesting. Again, the actors in this movie are so great. Shiloh Fernandez, who was Phil, and Chris Maloney they had a lot of questions, a lot of curiosity about how much of their characters to give away and what their characters were really about. I mean, my take on the story, and I think I shared this with them, but I kind of left it to them, what they wanted to do with their own backstory, was that I don't even necessarily feel like that Brock was necessarily gay or in the closet. I almost felt like it was all, which makes it to me even sadder, that it was literally just like an experiment, like he was just wanted to be touched, and I think that Phil in his own way is maybe not as naive and a little more manipulative than you think, and so he was sort of, in a way, like fucking all of them, and it's interesting also in light of what Shay's character says in the movie, where she's all, Phil and my dad are the same, but they're all surface, there's nothing but surface, when in fact it's the exact opposite. They're both everything but what their surface is. And so that sort of part of the story was like, and it was cool too because both Chris and Shiloh were very aware of where they were going. So if you go back and watch the movie again, you can see little, like, very subtle kind of hints of like that. It makes sense from beginning to end.
Reroll.
Another question? Yep.
Did you actually, was there a scene, I don't know, maybe there wasn't, a scene where the hearing was going on between the evidence that he had to give about what actually happened to his wife, and that the, what's his name, was there too, at the hearing? Her boyfriend? I can't remember.
Phil?
Yeah. Was there actually a scene of that, or you just said no?
Not in the book.
No, but in the film. I mean, did you film that?
No, there was no this
like a highlight, she was talking about all the scenes seen.
No, we didn't have any. I tried to not get too into this is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Into the procedural aspect of it, because it wasn't that interesting to me. I was really interested in that family,
Right.
And the kind of relationships there, and I didn't want to get too kind of law and ordery. Even with Chris.
Dum dum. Yeah, with Chris Maloney. That's another intertextual reference. Oh, so good. Okay, another question. Yes.
I can't hear. Can you?
The question is about the period and the way. Do you want to use my mic? Yeah.
Just yell.
Yeah.
So the question is about what you said you moved the period forward in time a few years, and also I was curious about when you chose to depict the flashbacks, it seemed to be from Pat's perspective. I was wondering if, in terms of the times that you chose to depict the actual years, or the way you chose to depict those times, and how that related to your perception of her subjectivity as she kind of works through.
How it relates to what?
Her subjectivity as she works through what's happened to her mother.
So are you talking about how the time period relates to her subjectivity?
Yes, or her perception of the time period as conveyed by the visual style.
Yeah, we made. I moved the period to. The book is 1986, I think, and I moved it to 1988. I'm sorry, another thing I changed. There's a few things I changed. I moved it really a little bit later, basically for the music, because the music has always been super important to all my movies, and this one in particular, I wanted to sort of pay tribute to all the bands and all the music that was so important to me when sort of I was coming of age, and I was sort of finding my own voice the way Kat's sort of figuring herself out in the movie. And so all of that musical stuff was really, and that's another thing I changed, is that the scene where Kat and Phil meet and sort of flirted at the goth club, in the book it's like a high school dance or something, and they're dancing to like Journey or something like that.
Depeche Mode is so much better.
Yeah, for me it was really like I wanted to set it in this club because it was, I made Kat more, she was still, the kids are still sort of the outsiders of the school, is the same way they are in the movie, but I wanted them to be more like the kind of cool alternative kids, as well as sort of being the outcasts of the school. And I told Shailene that she was probably really into like that period Winona Ryder, of like Beetlejuice and Heathers and all that. I mean, actually sort of modeled her look a little bit on Winona Ryder from that time. And so that's why it was sort of like set in that kind of 1988, and then also the turn of the decade, 1990. But as far as the flashbacks go, we did in fact Sandra came up with a very specific, actually, I think we call it a LUT. I don't know if there's DPs in the audience, but it's a timing code to make those. We had this idea that the flashbacks all be these kind of golden, buttery, sort of warm memories of their life, and it was also in the 70s when this took place. So there's more this sort of golden haze of kind of childhood versus the sort of cold kind of darkness of the 1988 period.
Yes, right here.
Going back to the same, you always have amazing soundtracks. How much of your budget actually goes to the soundtrack?
The whole budget. We were very fortunate with this movie in the sense that I really didn't think we were going to get all the bands that we got, and because I wrote most of them in the script and sort of on a dream that we would get them, and we got New Order and The Cure and Depeche Mode and like basically all of the biggies from that period, and as well we have the score by Harold Budd and Robin Guthrie, who also did the score for Mysterious Skin. I actually brought some scores too, so I don't know, we'll figure out some way to get them. I guess. Yeah, the score is amazing. Robin Guthrie and Harold Budd did the score for Mysterious Skin, and so much of the movie and the mood and the atmosphere and the sort of emotion of the movie is really in that music. I mean, when I see like Eve walk in the door of the new house and then Harold Budd's playing, it's sort of like, that's kind of what the scene is.
Mm-hmm. It really like stays with you. I feel like I can still like almost hear the score. It just creates this whole environment. Oh, not sorry. That was just for you. Yeah. All right. Another question from the audience? No? Yeah. Yes?
The
Okay.
dad's walk That was interesting. Did he choose that, or was it something you guys thought about?
It's just the amazing Chris. Chris Maloney, like Ava Green, it's like both of them are so, these characters are so far away from who they are as a person. Like Chris Maloney is just like this macho, tough dude, and he's always, he's in Oz and all that stuff, and everybody knows him from that and from Law and Order. And so by nature, he just tends to be this super kind of alpha male type. And he showed up on set, and that was it. That was actually the first scene that we shot of his, is when he's walking to the car after the police station. And I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting movie. I mean, he was just so, like, every inch of him was just sort of became this totally other person, and it was really a fascinating performance, and, such a kind of privilege to watch it, I think. I love the scene also where he's running in the airport, like running towards Kat when she comes back from school. It's just like, just the way he moves is just so, it's so not Chris Maloney, and it's so Brock.
Did you kind of let your actors kind of develop their own little, like his walk, or like Thomas Jane had a very specific way of speaking? I mean, was that something that he came up with, like this sort of, when he was having his flashbacks, like I've seen a lot of bad shit.
Like, I remember Tom's like, I really want a cigarette. And I'm all, really, a cigarette after a sex scene is so lame, And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, of course, because it really like goes back to all those film noirs and like Maltese Falcon. Yeah, I mean, like it's literally like gives that scene so much kind of richness, even though cigarette continuity is such a pain in the ass. It's such a nightmare to shoot with a cigarette. But I was so glad we had him do it because the way he used it was so much a part of that scene, And so, I mean, I'm a big proponent of the whole, directing is 90% casting school of thought. I mean, we just got so lucky and cast just these amazing, amazing actors. And, every day coming to set was just so exciting and so thrilling to just see what these people were going to do and, how they would bring the characters to life.
A couple more questions from the audience, if anybody has any. If not, yes?
Yeah, how many days did you shoot? And the second question, are you ever going to use Joseph Gordon-Levitt again?
Joe's too big a movie star to work as an indie filmmaker. I mean, we shot 22 days, I think. It was pretty. We actually shot. I'll never forget the shoot because it was literally the Saturday of Thanksgiving to like 2 days before Christmas. So it was really like just that one little window of time when everybody was available. So, but yeah, no, I actually I'm going to see Joe this week. I think he's supposed to come to the premiere this week. So, but Joe and I are still in touch, and he's of course, him and Shailene both will be like,
Yeah.
They'll just drive by me in their limousine.
Where is it going to be premiered at?
I think it's at the ArcLight or something.
Oh, in Hollywood. Okay, great.
Well, speaking of the premiere, the film comes out on Friday, so please spread
Friday
the word.
the 24th of the new word all the way across town.
Tell everyone about it. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much.
talking with us. Yeah.